People in my profession talk a lot about how important it is to update your resume periodically, but how the heck do you know what the current trends are and how expectations around resumes have changed over the years? Well, I'm going to give you some tools here, and these are all going to be linked in the comments section. But the first thing to know is that there are probably fewer and smaller changes than you might expect, given the way everyone talks about resumes these days. I'm going to get to some of those at the end here. But I'll tell you that the first place I like to send people is to the website of the Society for Human Resource Managers, or SHRM, SHRM. These are human resource managers. So they're very invested in this process and they're going to be very up to date on what expectations are around applications whenever it is that you are updating your application materials. They just have some really great resources and tips. You can also check out job boards, places like Indeed, and see what they have to say on those platforms. But the one note of caution with those is that sometimes the people writing those pieces of advice are potentially a little bit older or maybe not currently engaged in the recruitment process. So some of their advice has the potential to be a little bit outdated. Check a couple of other platforms if you see something that you're not sure about, and just do a quick comparison. That's going to keep you aware of what all of the trends are. The main thing to be aware of right now, and some resources that I will share with you, is that most employers are using what are called applicant tracking systems, or ATS. Basically, these are computer programs, typically with some pretty significant AI components, that look through the applications in order to weed out people who aren't actually qualified for the job. Employers are getting lots and lots of applications these days. So it's going to save them a lot of time and keep their applicant pool organized so they can kind of go through it, make sense out of it. The problem, of course, on your end is that the problem is now on you, the job seeker, to demonstrate very quickly and cleanly that you do have the skills and experience required for this particular job. So, in order to do that, there are actually some free tools that you can use to simplify your life. It's really hard for us as just regular humans to go through something like a job description and pull out all of the keywords and make sure that we're really capturing those in the resume. So, there are tools that you can use to do this that have free versions, I should say. The ones I usually send people to are Cultivated Cultures Resi Match, Job Scan, and Resume Worded. Those three are generally pretty good. They're easy to use. You're going to upload or paste in your resume on one side and the job description on the other, and they're going to run comparisons and tell you where you're falling short based on their little brain algorithm things, so that you can change up the keywords that you are using in your application to increase your chances of getting past that first barrier in this process. Now, of course, you can use other tools if there's a particular AI platform you especially like, for instance. But I like these because they're very sort of custom designed for this process. And I just find that a little bit of a smoother process than going to some of the other tools that you might use the AI for. However, obviously, this is really a case of what's comfortable for you. So if there's a platform you're already using that you especially like, go ahead and use it. There's no harm to it, and it's really going to help you make sure that you are capturing those keywords in your document. Now, you can also build a resume out on some free online tools, places like Teal, Resume Builder, things like that. The problem I have with those sites is that I find the finished resumes pretty cumbersome to edit and to change if you see something on there that you don't like, or if you would like to add something that isn't sort of preloaded into their template format. Again, if you like them, please feel free to use them. Most of those also have free options for you there. So use what you're comfortable with. It is, after all, your document, and you want to be sure that you feel good about kind of how you're updating it, what you're adding to it. Quick side note, if you are applying for a federal job at any point along this whole career journey of yours, you're going to want to be sure that you're actually building your resume on the USA Jobs Resume Builder platform. Federal resumes are a bit of a different creature than most others. And so you're just going to want to make sure you follow their rules and do exactly what they say on that site to increase your chances of actually getting through the federal application process. It's a bit of a pain. So just follow their rules. They're going to keep the tool current on there. It should be fairly easy to use. The hard part is digging back through your history and getting all of those details that those particular sites are going to want. Now, I mentioned that there are some changes that are really sort of the thing right now, the trend. And I'll go through some of those here. There are others, but these are the main ones to pay attention to. And the first one is actually more of a side note. When you're applying for a job, one of the things you're going to want to be sure that you have on your resume is a current seeming email address. So if what you've been using for a while is something like Hotmail, you're going to want to update that because that does really risk making you look old. So, things like Gmail, or maybe a specific, like a current work address, something like that, that isn't going to date you on there. Another important component to add to your resume these days is either a LinkedIn profile URL or something in place of it. So if you're in tech, you might have your GitHub. If you are in the creative field, you might have your portfolio, something like that, just so that they can see that you can do this kind of basic tech thing. So just throw that in there towards the end of your contact information. You don't need things like phone number or email. Just put the actual phone number and email in there instead of the words that lead them to that. You can put in a little icon if you want. I tend to prefer cleaner. They're going to be able to tell that that's a phone number or an email address or what have you there. Next thing to know is that you don't actually need a full physical address on the resume these days. City and state are typically sufficient. Again, federal resumes are their own creature. But some people also like to add a zip code. That's up to you. There's some controversy about whether the zip code information might disclose a little bit about your neighborhood demographics, income levels, that kind of thing. So that's up to you. The next thing to know is that you no longer need an objective statement on your resume. Instead, what you're going to put in is the job title that you are seeking. So you're going to change that each time because chances are pretty good that the specific job title for each employer will be slightly different. So you're just going to swap that in instead of that whole big old line about what you're seeking right now. Obviously, you're seeking this job. You are sending in an application for it, right? And then the last thing, the last sort of larger change to know here, is that you don't actually need to put references available upon request anywhere on the document. That's the assumption. They just know that you're going to provide references when they ask for them. A few places will ask for them up front. It's a separate document from your resume. I prefer it when they don't, because then you can let people know, but it does depend on kind of what their structure is for the application. So they aren't huge changes. These are all going to be fairly straightforward for you to implement. It's going to make sure that they're not making any assumptions about your age based on things like, your email address and that kind of thing. So I hope this is helpful. Let me know if there are specific tools that you would like to see me add to that list here linked below. And let me know also if you have any questions.